It's hard to say exactly when the long slide of the Catskills began, but driving around the Borscht Belt these days, it's clear that era is long gone. But for the better part of the 20th century, the Catskills were the summer destination of New York Jews. Not all of them stayed in storied hotels with brand-name comedians. Many Jews spent their summers in bare-bone bungalow colonies called kuchelanes, Yiddish for cook alone, because residents shared a home but prepared their own meals. I stumbled upon one of these kuchelanes earlier this summer when I went up to the Catskills after learning that Kutsher's, the last of the great Jewish hotels, was set to be demolished. The house I found nearby was covered in foliage and falling apart, and it wasn't too hard to get in. Inside, signs of the home's bygone life were intermingled with decay. The roof had caved in, leaves were rotting in the sink, moss was growing on the walls. But there were still pictures hanging up. A working piano sitting in the corner, a mezuzah with a parchment still inside affixed to a doorpost. In some rooms, it seemed almost as if the people who lived there had just gone out for the afternoon. Working off a photograph I found in one bedroom, I managed to track down two sisters, now in their 60s, who spent their summers growing up there. Over the course of several conversations, the sisters, Paula Goldberg and Judy Vitelli, told me about its heyday and how their parents were the last occupants of that house, going up every summer for 50 years until their mother Sylvia died in 2003.
Here's the ladies sitting in their lawn chairs. See, there's the bungalows back, and look at the cars.
Sylvia started going to the Catskills when she was just an infant. Here she is in 1923 with her big sister Fanny and her mother, Paula Shapiro. In 1953, after she had married a pharmacist from the Bronx named Nat Goldberg and had a couple of kids, Sylvia began taking her own daughters up to the mountains. Here's her daughter, Paula.
So we were 2 and 5, and Mommy said, I don't want to be home all summer with the girls because she didn't drive.
Right.
So her sister was at the bungalow colony, and she called, and Mary had a room available. And Dad said, I'll do it. You could go up there, but believe me, I'm not sharing a room in this house with all of these people. And 50 years later, you saw they were still in that room.
10 families shared a single house at that kuchelane called the Fair Hill Bungalow Colony. All of them were cousins and close friends from the same working-class neighborhood in the Bronx. There was practically no privacy. Parents and children slept in the same room. There were only 2 bathrooms, and everyone ate their meals in the shared dining room. Here's Judy.
There were 2 double beds. That's where my father and mother were in one, and we were in the other.
It was great. We loved it when he came up.
Yeah, it was hard because he was a very light sleeper, so if you sneezed, you got yelled at.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And Judy always sneezed.
I did.
He didn't like having the girls in the next bed any more than we liked having him in the next bed. I mean, there was no privacy whatsoever. You saw the size of that house. And we'd line up with a towel and a soap dish and our toothbrush and our toothpaste. How did we carry those? I know the plastic soap dish. And we'd line up to go to the bathroom. I mean, God forbid you were sick. You know?
Yeah, and there were only 2 bathrooms
until we got the addition, and then we got 4 for 40 people.
Families. Yeah.
Right? But somehow I don't remember fights about any of that.
I don't remember either.
Families we knew how to do it. There was not fighting.
Everything happened in front of everybody else.
Right.
Really. Or the babying, or the disciplining. Remember when I got the...
What happened?
Well...
She was fast. You saw her with that boy.
No, I did not. No, not that boy. I wasn't that young. But I think I was 11. Bobby Middleman gave me a hickey. I was going to die. I mean, it was the summer. You couldn't wear a scarf. So I put on makeup.
Your mother put makeup on us.
No. I put it on before I came out from the top of my head down to my neck thinking nobody would notice. And I walked into the dining room and Arlene Feinstein started laughing. And I thought, I'm dead.
Mommy put pancake on it until you got rid of it.
It was horrible.
From a kid's perspective, the summers were idyllic. Days were spent hiking in the woods, swimming in the lake, picking wild blueberries, and fooling around. On rainy days, they'd pack the dining room with their parents to play rummy or mahjong.
We fished and swam in the same lake.
Pete.
Everything.
Pete and Alex drowned cats.
I lost my favorite spinner because I
have
fished.
a ring down there.
And Mark found it. He stepped on it.
For the adults, the bungalow colony was both an extension of and a break from their lives in the city. It was mostly the same people, but there was cleaner air, less privacy, and less testosterone. The men came up only on weekends. It was the women and children who stayed up all summer. Entertainment was mostly homemade.
They'd make Saturday night parties.
Right.
And committees would be formed. And what we need a party planner for now, they did from Tuesday to Saturday, right? We weren't allowed. We weren't
allowed in, the kids. Mm-hmm. But they're like, this is a soup eating contest, and you had one spoon. Yes, Sylvia's cheating because she's drinking it out of the bowl. But you had to share a spoon.
And you see, they decorated the whole place.
Oh, they all dressed inside out and backwards. That's my mother.
They don't look inside out.
Well, see that some of them have their underwear over there,
on the top.
See her.
Our mother
bra is backwards.
Even
her dress is on backwards because the collar.
So that's your mom.
Yeah.
And that's my mother-in-law.
Mm-hmm.
Where's Aunt Faye? She there?
Yeah, Faye is here.
For Paula, one summertime relationship proved to have special staying power. When she was 12, she started going with a boy at the Kachalein named Mark, also coincidentally Goldberg.
I wanted to be bad. I couldn't stand having to be so good.
Yeah.
So I went out with Mark Goldberg, who was the bad boy.
That was the summer of '59. When Paula was 21, she and Mark married. They recently celebrated their 45th wedding anniversary.
He was nobody that my mother wanted me to marry at that time. He was a bad boy. I mean, he got away with it.
He was fresh.
Paula and her sister loved the Kachalein, even though they didn't always admit it.
I was always sad when I came back to the Bronx because the end of the summer was just heartbreaking. Oh, at the end of the summer, as each family left,
oh, this is nice.
We would take pot lids and yell. We would sing, "We hate to see you go," and bang pots and pans. As each family left, and you'd sing, "We hate to see you go. We hate to see you go. We hope the heck you never come back. We hate to see you go."
And we banged our pots and pans.
Until they drove away.
I'd make Nancy Gatterman do that when we leave the beach. I'm not kidding.
That was a sweet thing.
There was just a tradition there.
Yeah.
By the 70s, most of the kids had grown up and moved on. And even though the Borscht Belt was by then in deep decline, Nat and Sylvia and the rest of their friends from New York kept going.
Nobody changed. We all went from the time we got a room until they died.
Yeah.
Until they either died or moved to Florida and didn't come back.
Right.
I mean, it was forever.
The same people.
The same
and lived
people.
I told you, lived in the same
Same
buildings.
two
in the
buildings.
Bronx.
By the 1990s, most of the house's 10 rooms were empty. But the Goldbergs kept going. They'd spend their summers in the Catskills, their winters in Florida, and the rest of their time at their home in Yonkers, New York. Sylvia kept a bottle of moisturizer in each one. I saw one of those bottles when I was snooping around the now-abandoned house.
When our parents were there already by 2000 and they were the only people in the big house, then we were already scared. Then they started to lock it with some antique key.
Yes, the skeleton key. It's probably still in the drawer. Yeah. Yeah, that was, I didn't like that. When
we did not like the last few years. And they felt no qualms about being alone there. And by this point, most of the hotels and bungalow colonies had already, closed up. And Monticello was a tough, disgusting town.
Finally, in 2002, after 50 years of summers, their kids managed to convince Nat and Sylvia to change their plans for the following summer, skip the Kachalein, and book rooms at Kutcher's instead. But they never made it. That fall, Sylvia began complaining about feeling tired, and she was soon diagnosed with cancer. She died in July 2003. Nat, 10 years her senior, held on till 2010, dying at the ripe old age of 100. Even now, the Kachalein still maintains a hold on the Goldberg sisters. Paula tells me she used to drive up to the Catskills every year on August 2nd, the anniversary of her first date with Mark. But last year, Paula decided she didn't want to go anymore. It was just too sad and spooky. It's also dangerous. There's no telling when a floor might collapse or the roof cave in. The property is a wreck. But it's also full of relics. enough for an enterprising visitor like me to decode the mystery of this strange place and find the Goldbergs so they could tell me their story.
We've always said that we didn't want to go, but we couldn't wait to get there.